In this AlignMix video, you will learn the key principles to follow when creating new sales territories. The first principle is to use highways or major roadways as arteries and not boundaries. So let's zoom into Florida down here, and you'll see that we've got some big highways here. So let's look at this Tampa one here, and if we create a new territory like so, you'll see that this territory 1 doesn't reach this main highway that goes north and south. It's basically a boundary. So how is this sales rep supposed to reach these northern areas? By going down side roads? That's not realistic. So it's best to use these major roadways as arteries so that the sales rep can follow that highway and not be limited by that highway. And the same would apply for a second territory that would go right here. So you can see that highway goes right through the middle, so that sales rep is able to easily access all of the accounts that are found in that territory. Another good example of a key principle is again here in Florida, where we've got the Everglades. So we've got a very large marshland here where there's really nothing around. So you wouldn't really want a territory that spans from east to west in this area, because you'll have a lot of accounts here on the east coast and then a lot of accounts on the west coast here on the west side. So you're having a sales rep drive through basically swampland in the Everglades for about 2 hours to reach some of those accounts. The same will apply in desert areas, like let's say maybe you have a territory that crosses from Waco all the way to Phoenix. That is a very unrealistic territory because A, that is a huge distance to travel, and B, there's a lot of desert and a lot of nothing as you cross between those states in that desert area. And another good example is over here in Denver. Let's say you have a Denver territory and maybe a couple accounts assigned to that Denver territory here in Grand Junction. And here you're actually separated by a mountain range. So you're having someone drive through hours and hours of mountain passes just to reach a few accounts here in Grand Junction. It's much closer for the sales rep that lives here in Salt Lake City to reach those accounts in Grand Junction. Even though it's in a different state, the distance is much closer and easier to get to from Salt Lake City than Denver. So it's a good idea when you're completing your sales territories to have a fine-tuning session with some of the district managers or region managers that are familiar with the area. Another key principle when creating new territories is to work from the corners and work inward. So if you're starting a new project, you'll want to start working in the northeast, create a territory, and work your way in. Yes, you would have some other metrics displayed on the map like a territory index or a few data sets to show you what the value is of each territory, but you want to work from the corners and work your way in. And you would do that from the northeast, you would do that from the Great Lakes, create some territories, work your way in, and then from the northwest, same process, you'd create them, work your way into the heart of America, and again from California, you would work your way in. And the reason for this is that you can start creating ideal territories from the corners, move your way in, so that when you make it all the way to the center of the country, you won't have to backtrack and try to fit in a territory after you've created them. It's basically to avoid a domino effect by just shifting things over and over and over just to make one more territory. So always start in the corners and work your way in. One final key principle is to create the territories for the business and not for the sales rep. Sales reps can always leave. They can pack up their stuff, join another company, and the territory that you created specifically for that sales rep will now be given to a different sales rep. So if you've made special arrangements to give certain accounts just to keep a sales rep, that new sales rep that takes over will not have that special relationship anyway. So always create ideal territories that are best for the business, for the long term, and not for the short term just to appease your sales reps. And there you go. You've just learned some key principles for creating territories in AlignMix.